My name is Michael Reeves, 53 years old, and 3 weeks ago, I was the operations director at Delcroft Systems, a company I helped build from a 4-man warehouse into a $240 million logistics giant. Now I scrub toilets for them. Not metaphorically. Not as a joke. I wear a navy jumpsuit, carry a bucket, and mop floors after hours while people who used to call me sir pretend they don't know my name. The man who did it is Cameron Evers, our new director of operations. Cameron's 34, MBA, buzzword addict, wears loafers with no socks and refers to people as headcount units in meetings. I met him once before this. He introduced himself at a leadership meeting and called my division archaic. Didn't even shake my hand. The second time we met, he demoted me. Let's talk evolution, he said, sitting in the conference room I used to unlock at 5:30 every morning. Frankly, Michael, your skill set is legacy. But the company respects tenure, so we're giving you an option. You can take on a facility support role, custodial, or, he smiled, looked at HR. Or we can accept your resignation. Without severance, of course. Budget constraints. Then he pulled a plunger from under the table and set it in front of me like a damn prop. I looked at the plunger. Then I looked at him. I'd buried my wife a year ago last month, held her hand through chemo, told her I'd slow down, that we'd travel. She died before I ever took a single day off. Now I was staring at a toilet brush in a room I used to lead. I nodded once. Understood, I said. I signed the form. Didn't say another word. They made me change in the back hallway locker room. The maintenance jumpsuit was a size too big and smelled like bleach and something older than bleach. My name wasn't stitched into it, just a patch that read, Facilities. First assignment, sanitize the executive restroom suite. My restroom suite. The office I'd spent 19 years in still had my nameplate on the door. They hadn't even removed it. They just gave me gloves, pointed me toward it, and walked away. The bathroom smelled like lemon cleaner and cheap confidence. I scrubbed the sink I once shaved in before board meetings. The mirror showed me a man no one remembered. At 9:32 p.m., Cameron walked in. He paused when he saw me on my knees cleaning the tile under the stall. He laughed, full smile. No shame. Don't forget the baseboards, Mike, he said. Then he paused. Sorry, Mr. Reeves, I stood, looked at him, didn't blink. Yes, sir. I don't think he liked that. They thought I'd be broken, that I'd shuffle around, invisible, that I'd become another discarded piece of infrastructure like the manual switchboards we pulled out in 2008. But the thing about cleaning toilets? You see what people flush. You hear what they say when they think no one's there. You learn what they hide. End of week 1, nobody looked at me. End of week 2, they started talking around me. Loud, careless. End of week 3, I found something in the trash outside the C-Wing conference room. A printed procurement packet. 4 vendor names. 3 of them didn't exist. One of them was listed twice, double billed. Same day, same signature, his. I folded it, slipped it into my jumpsuit pocket, didn't break stride. Cameron passed me that afternoon, said, Glad to see you're settling in, Mike. Honestly, I think the blue suits you. I smiled. Happy to be useful, sir. I finished scrubbing the second-floor restroom that night. The sink squeaked when I wiped it down. I looked at my reflection again, smiled wider. 3 weeks ago, he gave me a plunger and a choice. He has no idea what I just chose. They stopped calling me Mr. Reeves by the second week. Now I was just Mike, or maintenance, or nothing at all. The same executives who used to shake my hand in the lobby now stepped around me like I was furniture. Some even nodded, like I was a familiar object, an old water cooler or flickering light they'd learned to ignore. I cleaned the floors outside strategy and innovation while Cameron held a team huddle. All about agility, he said, tapping his whiteboard with a capped marker. Legacy mindsets slow us down. People stuck in old workflows, old systems. Everyone laughed, loud enough for me to hear through the glass. He looked at me when he said it. I was scrubbing gum off the tile. Tuesday night, I found something strange while emptying the waste bins on the 7th floor. A folder, not shredded, just discarded, like it didn't matter. It was labeled Q4 External Vendors, Onboarding Invoices. Same format as the one I'd found last week. I opened it slowly, standing under the buzzing fluorescent light of the janitor's closet. Same signature, same vendor ID, 2 invoices, same service, billed 6 days apart, both signed C. Evers. The amounts were different by $12,000. Same account code, same line items. I stared at the pages a moment longer, then slid them into the bottom of my lunch cooler beneath a wrapped sandwich I didn't plan to eat. By Thursday, the whispers started. I was mopping the C-Wing hallway when I heard 2 junior analysts talking at the water cooler. You hear about procurement? One said. No, the other replied. They're saying some of the vendor contracts were backdated, might be duplicates. That serious? If compliance gets wind of it, it could be huge. They stopped talking when they saw me. The taller one smiled awkwardly and pushed past. I moved to the next hallway without a word. I started cleaning slower, not dirtier, just slower. It gave me more time to listen. That's how I caught the 10:18 p.m. Thursday conversation outside the strategy conference room. Cameron's voice, smug, cocky, sharp, like a man who's never lost a bet. I told you, just reroute through Harmon LLC. They don't audit weekend entries. A woman's voice, nervous. That's not what compliance... I'm not asking, I'm telling. Footsteps, doors slamming, silence. On Friday, I found another folder in the bin outside finance. It was torn, half soaked in coffee, but still legible. A printed Slack conversation. Cameron to finance lead. Loop that payroll adjustment through the overflow account. No flags, just keep it off the board's radar. Underneath that, scribbled in pen, he wants another quiet fund set up. Says it's for emergency bonuses. Don't trust it. It wasn't signed. Didn't matter. Later that night, I was scrubbing baseboards when Alyssa, my old assistant, now an exec, quietly placed a takeaway coffee on the janitor's cart. Didn't say a word, just walked off. Inside the cup sleeve, under the cardboard, a folded sticky note. Be careful. They're watching you now too. I drank the coffee anyway. That weekend, I stayed late, past the scheduled shift. I cleaned the executive break room like I always did. But this time I checked every trash bin, every shredder bag, every printout left on the conference table. I found a discarded USB drive. No label, just a silver metal stick jammed between a candy wrapper and a soda bottle in the bin outside Cameron's office. I pocketed it and finished wiping down the sink. Back in the janitor's closet, with the door locked, I plugged the drive into my old, dented work laptop. Inside, a folder called Alt Q4 Drafts. Private. 1 Excel file. 5 vendors. 3 fake addresses. 2 routes to offshore accounts, all signed, digitally, by C. Evers. Sunday night, 1:22 a.m., I called my old contact, Rudy, who worked finance with me during the early days. Still listed in my burner phone as R73 Mike, he said. Jesus, it's been, 5 years? Need you to look into something, I said. Discreet. Okay, what are we talking? Backdated vendor logs, duplicate payments, possible off-ledger funds. Silence, then. Same company? Same building. Another pause. Send me what you have. Secure line, I'll verify. The next night, Cameron walked past me in the break room. He had a caramel latte in one hand, his phone in the other. He stopped when he saw me polishing the faucet. You really lean into this stuff, don't you? He said. I looked up. Sir? He chuckled. Most people would have quit. Moved on. You're, trying to prove a point? No point, I said. Then why stay? I rinsed the rag in silence, wrung it out slowly, wiped the sink again. He waited for an answer. I gave him one. Because you asked me to. He didn't know what to do with that. He left without another word. In the quiet after, I looked at my reflection in the faucet. The face was older than I remembered, more tired, but my eyes were steady, and I still had all the folders. The USB drive wasn't the end. It was the beginning. The spreadsheets it held were just one layer, duplicates, falsified approvals, and vendor names that didn't exist. But what mattered more was how they were created. Cameron used a secondary login ID tied to an internal audit sandbox, something only a handful of execs even knew existed. I knew it because I built the early versions of that system back in 2005, when Delcroft was still using beige monitors and coaxial routers. I still had admin privileges buried under a system account no one ever bothered to deactivate. They forgot something. When you build the foundation, you always know where the cracks form first. My nights changed. I still cleaned the same rooms, mopped the same floors, but I moved slower now, took longer in the offices with the heaviest trash, kept a burner phone duct taped to the underside of my mop cart. I used it to log timestamps, take photos, and sync files to a secure cloud Rudy had set up in 2-layer of encryption. 3 years ago, I thought I'd retire, and now I was building a case file labeled Evers, internal fraud, breach of fiduciary duty. Every night, redacted but Slack deleted emails recovered from hard drives they'd thrown in. One night I found a shredded pay stub showing a bonus marked confidential ops fund paid to someone outside the company. 2 names surfaced repeatedly. Harmon LLC, Deltascope Advisory, neither had a real address. Both had Cameron's name on the authorization line. I still wore the janitor suit, still nodded when people told me to clean spills or reset a toilet sensor. But in the background, I activated every system I'd ever helped install. The surveillance backup, the HR metadata logs, the old disaster recovery system we mothballed in 2017, still quietly recording system events to a shadow archive. All still worked, all under my access. I started leaving breadcrumbs. a printout left in the conference room trash, a folder labeled vendor check, internal use only, half torn, and placed near the Keurig. I needed Cameron to think the cracks were forming somewhere else. I needed him to feel pressure, but from the wrong side. I knew his type: arrogant, paranoid. The moment he feels threatened, he gets reckless. And recklessness is louder than anything I could ever say. Around week 5, I got a message through Rudy. Board audit is being quietly pushed up. Founder's daughter is on the subcommittee. Your files are locked. Keep going. I did. Then came Dev, the intern. I caught him one night around 11 p.m., still at his desk in the design bullpen. Looked lost. Coffee gone cold beside him. You shouldn't still be here, I said, wiping down the window beside his cubicle. He looked up, startled. Oh, I didn't hear you. You're the intern, right? Dev? He nodded. Yeah, Cameron's been keeping me late to do deck revisions. I raised an eyebrow. Decks? Pitch decks. Quarterly reports. Financial models. The ones that go to investors. My hands paused over the window ledge. He noticed. You know this stuff? He asked. I gave a small smile. I used to build the real numbers those decks were based on. He blinked. Wait, you're Michael Reeves? I nodded once. I read your logistics paper in my systems design class. That night, Dev followed me to the break room and poured coffee. Didn't ask what I was doing. Just said, if you're working on something, I'd like to help. I said nothing, but the next night I handed him a printed spreadsheet. Check these vendor codes against the deck data. He did. 20 minutes later, he whispered, they don't match. Like, at all. I nodded. We had our pattern. I brought Dev in slowly. He pulled Slack exports, expense reports, flight logs. He cross-referenced vendor consultants who never logged into the company system or submitted NDAs. He found one listing that used a burner Gmail with a recovery number registered to Cameron's personal phone. We documented everything, quietly, precisely, legally. Dev uploaded it to the same cloud system Rudy secured. Week 6. Cameron came into the restroom while I was cleaning the third-floor executive stall. He leaned against the sink, adjusted his watch, and smirked. You've really embraced this role, huh? I rinsed my gloves. Wasn't much of a choice, sir. He laughed. Life's funny. Some people adapt. Others get flushed. He walked out laughing. I finished wiping down the toilet, then pulled out my phone and marked the time, 9:17 p.m. Final confirmation of intent to humiliate. That night, I finished building the master file, folders by date, PDFs of IMAILS, photos of printed approvals, Slack logs with exported metadata, cross-referenced vendor names tied to Cameron's name, IP, or admin access. Dev named it. Foundations. I named the second version. Collapse. I didn't submit anything. Not yet. I walked back to the janitor closet, hung up my gloves, sat on the bench, looked down at my hands. They were calloused again, dirty, but steady, and every part of me knew it was almost time. I didn't sleep that morning. After logging the final audit trail, I walked the 2 miles home, poured a black coffee, and opened a secure browser on a machine no one knew existed. 3 messages, 3 destinations. 1 to Rudy's law firm, encrypted. 1 to the Delcroft Board of Directors subcommittee, marked urgent. 1 to the Office of Federal Contracting Compliance, flagged with a pre-signed whistleblower affidavit. Each message contained a curated summary of Cameron Evers' financial falsification, vendor laundering, kickback schemes, and willful internal deception. Evidence, not accusations. The file name was simple. Controlled breach. Authorized transparency initiated. I clicked send at 6:43 a.m. No fanfare, no drama, just silence. Then I finished my coffee, put on my janitor uniform, and walked back to Delcroft like nothing had changed. The first ripple came at 9:04 a.m. The East Wing Slack chat went quiet. Then, buzzing, conversations, rapid footsteps, doors opening and closing without the usual soft knock. I was on my knees scrubbing the baseboards near HR when the panic started to show on faces. Not fear, not yet, just confusion. At 9:47 a.m., an internal email went out. All department heads please meet in C-Wing conference. Room, mandatory attendance. I read it from the screen left unlocked on an analyst's laptop while wiping down their whiteboard. Cameron passed me on the way in. No smile this time, not even eye contact. His face looked flushed, and the latte he always carried, forgotten on the reception desk. I finished polishing the glass doors, took the long route to the storage closet, passed through the empty finance bay, phones ringing with no one answering them. I didn't touch a thing, didn't need to. Everything had already been delivered. At 10:13 a.m., Dev texted me from the burner. Emergency audit team just walked in. They brought an outside firm, 4 people. One of them asked for hard access to backups. At 10:29, a memo went company-wide. Effective immediately. All communications related to Q4 vendor operations are on temporary lockdown pending internal review. Please do not delete or alter any documents. At 10:44, Cameron's badge stopped working. I know this because he tried to get into the finance server room, and security stopped him. I watched from the end of the hallway, behind my mop cart. He looked around, eyes wide, saw me, didn't say a word. I nodded once. By 11:12 a.m., 3 board members arrived on site. That never happens. Not for audits, not for compliance. Board members live in New York, Boston, Palo Alto. If they show up on a weekday morning unannounced, it means something broke. Cameron was pulled into conference room A. The windows had the blinds drawn, but I saw the shadows. One of them stood, gestured violently. Another sat still, arms crossed. Cameron's silhouette paced, then stopped, head down. I cleaned the hallway carpet just outside, moved slowly, made sure the squeaky mop wheel passed the door every 5 minutes. At 11:56 a.m., someone inside slammed a chair. At 12:03, security walked past me, fast. 2 minutes later, they were escorting out the finance lead and the procurement analyst. No boxes, no goodbyes, just walked out, silently. Cameron emerged just after noon, face pale, tie loosened. His eyes met mine in the hallway. Face pale, tie loosened. His eyes met mine in the hallway. For the first time in 6 weeks, he looked like he might speak to me. He opened his mouth. I adjusted my mop bucket. He shut it again and kept walking. At 12:22 p.m., I got a message from Rudy. SEC confirmed. Inquiry opened. Board meeting convening Friday. External review panel being appointed. Press silence for now. At 1:04 p.m., the founder's daughter, Margot Delcroft, walked into the building. First time in almost a year. She didn't greet anyone, went straight to the boardroom. Wearing black slacks, no jewelry, she looked like someone preparing to fire a bullet she had no guilt about. At 2:08 p.m., Cameron tried to access the primary server again. He failed. I know because Dev forwarded me the error log. He'd been blocked at the root level, overridden by the only admin account older than the servers themselves. Mine. I cleaned the executive kitchen that afternoon. Number 1 was there. The silence in the building was louder than usual. Phones weren't ringing. People were whispering in corners. Screens were locked. The company had gone still, like the moment before an earthquake when all the animals flee, but the humans just freeze. I returned to the janitor's closet at 4:06 p.m., washed my hands, sat down, texted Dev, pull my legacy credentials, wipe them, log out clean. He replied, "You sure?" I stared at the wall for a moment, then typed, "I've done what I came to do." I left the building with the mop bucket parked neatly beside the door. Didn't take anything, not even the rag I'd used to clean Cameron's private stall 3 hours earlier. Let them remember the smell of bleach. The meeting was at 9 a.m. sharp. The invitation had been sent to my personal email, the one only the founder's family ever had. It was short. "Michael, your presence is requested at tomorrow's board review. No preparation needed. Just show up. Monsieur Delcroft, I didn't ask questions, didn't rehearse, didn't shave, just put on the janitor suit, packed one folder and showed up early. The boardroom looked the same. Long glass table, soft leather chairs. Too cold. Except this time, I stood behind my old seat. And Cameron? He was sitting in it. Back stiff, hands folded like he was praying no one would look too closely. Margot Delcroft entered at 8:57. No small talk, no smiles. She sat at the head of the table and nodded once. "Let's begin." The compliance officer, a man named Trent, spoke first. He used words like discrepancy, pattern, misuse of discretionary accounts. He clicked through a projection file, vendor routing trees, audit flags, unexplained adjustments. Every slide had one name recurring, C. Evers. Cameron interrupted twice. Both times Margot said nothing. She just looked at him. That was enough. At 9:22 a.m., Rudy walked in. He wore a gray suit and carried a thumb drive. He inserted it into the boardroom display. "This," he said, "was submitted to the Office of Federal Contracting Compliance on January 5th. He let the room sit in silence while the folder opened. Compiled by a whistleblower with direct system access and archival control, dating back over 17 years. Verified through cross-reference with internal logs and legacy architecture metadata. He clicked once. A document appeared. Controlled breach. Authorized transparency initiated. Cameron paled. "You can't," he started. Margot held up a hand. "You had 6 weeks to correct course," she said. "You used that time to double down." Then she turned to me. "Michael, is everything in that file your work?" I didn't answer right away. I opened my folder, pulled out a single sheet of paper, placed it on the table. A printed Slack message. "Just reroute through Harmon. No flags. Keep him busy, scrubbing floors. Cameron Evers." "I didn't write that," Cameron said. "It's fabricated. This is a setup. This is..." He stopped. Because I was looking at him, not angrily, not triumphantly, just looking, like I did the day he gave me a plunger and told me to choose. Margot looked back to Trent. What's our exposure? Trent tapped his pen. Estimated financial loss, $2.1 million. Potential compliance penalty, up to $4 million. Multiple reporting violations. But, he turned toward me, this evidence mitigates all board liability. It isolates the issue. Margot nodded, then said to security, please escort Mr. Evers from the premises. His employment is terminated effective immediately. Badge access revoked. Legal counsel will follow up. Cameron stood too fast, knocked over his chair. He looked at me again, sweating now. You think you won? He snapped. You're a janitor. I picked up my mop bucket. You're right, I said. I was. Security didn't touch him. He left on his own, but not before passing me in the hallway. He muttered something I didn't hear. I didn't ask him to repeat it. I had floors to clean. Margot met me at the elevator. She handed me a sealed envelope. Reinstatement, she said. Full back pay. Promotion. Whatever you want. I shook my head. I'm done building things for people who forget who built them. She didn't try to argue, just smiled faintly. Then, he always hated the smell of bleach. I left the building for the last time at 11:03 a.m. Didn't pack a box. Didn't take a victory lap. Just left the mop bucket in front of the main glass doors. Clean. Still dripping. I figured they'd remember what it meant. The Monday after Cameron's termination, Delcroft Systems held an all-hands meeting. I wasn't there. But Dev sent me a picture. Board members standing somber at the podium, Margot Delcroft at the center. The headline in the internal memo read, Transparency Rebuilt, a return to Delcroft's founding principles. They called it the reset, said the culture was getting realigned, said words like integrity and legacy. Nobody mentioned my name. Didn't bother me. They didn't need to. I'd already signed the letter declining reinstatement. No bonus, no title, no lawsuit, just a short note. Respect doesn't come with a paycheck. It's earned when no one's looking. Consider this my resignation. Effective immediately. Michael Reeves. I used part of Lisa's life insurance to open a hardware shop just off Route 8. Reeves Supply and Tools. It's small, quiet. I know every customer by name. I spend my mornings on the floor and my evenings in the back, fixing things that other places would throw away. That's what I do now. I repair. The way no one did for me. Dev stopped by last week, dropped off a bottle of bourbon and an envelope. Inside, an offer letter. Senior systems analyst. Signed by the new COO. He'd declined it. I figured I'd come work for you instead, he said. I didn't ask his salary. Just handed him a wrench and pointed at the busted snowblower in the corner. He smiled. Got to work. Rudy still calls once a month. Says the SEC case is ongoing, but Cameron's been blacklisted across half the East Coast. Last we heard, he was living out of a sublet in Hoboken, begging for consulting work under a fake name. His LinkedIn page is gone. His company email was purged. The corner office with the espresso machine, now storage. Sometimes Dev jokes about mailing him a plunger. I tell him to leave it be. We're not here to remind people what they flushed. Last week, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. Return address was the old Delcroft estate. It was from Margot Delcroft. Just one line. My father trusted the right man. Thank you for protecting what he built. Inside the envelope was Henry's old wristwatch. Still ticking. Still heavy. I keep it in a drawer at the store, next to a folded janitor badge that still smells faintly of bleach. Not because I miss it, just because I want to remember what silence can build if you hold your ground. This morning, I got up early. Snow was coming down sideways, sharp and fast. I opened the shop, turned on the heater, brewed coffee that wasn't from a break room. Then I walked to the back closet, pulled out a small wooden box labeled Final Supplies. Inside, a rag, a metal scrub brush, one sealed bottle of industrial cleaner. I locked up early, drove back to Delcroft. The lobby staff didn't recognize me. Didn't matter. I wasn't there for them. I went to the C-Wing restroom, my old one. The marble still had a faint crack where the sink met the backsplash. I'd sealed that crack myself in 2009 with epoxy and a butter knife. I scrubbed the sink again, wiped the mirror, polished the chrome until it gleamed. No one came in. No one said a word. When I finished, I left the rag on the counter, placed the cleaner beneath the sink, and tucked one final note into the cabinet door. Cleanliness is a form of respect. The janitor. Then I walked out. Not as a director, not as a whistleblower, not as a man looking for justice. Just a man who knows how to clean up a mess. That's all for this story. I'll be back with another one. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. It motivates me to create more content like this.